Hey everyone, I want to share a story with you today. It's a story that I've never really told anyone before, but I feel like it's time now. It's the story of my childhood, of how everything changed when I was just 11 years old and how I went through a lot to get to where I am today. So, let me take you back a few years. My name is Chris, and growing up, I had a pretty normal life. I lived with my dad, John, and my mom, Sarah. My dad was a great man, always full of energy, always making me laugh. We had this little tradition every Saturday where we'd go to the park. He'd bring his camera and take pictures of me while I was playing soccer with other kids. I remember how he always cheered me on, calling me the best player in the game, even though I was kind of clumsy with the ball. My mom, on the other hand, well, she was there but not really there, if you know what I mean. She was always busy, always working, and I could tell there was a distance between us. It wasn't like I hated her, no, I just never felt the same connection I had with my dad. But things were good. I had my dad, and honestly, I didn't really need anything else until one day when everything came crashing down. When I was 11, my dad started getting sick. At first, it was these little things. He'd get tired more easily, lose his appetite. But soon it turned into something much worse. We found out he had cancer. Cancer. Those words still echo in my mind, and I remember how scared I was. I could see it in his eyes too, the fear, the uncertainty. He tried to stay strong for me, but I knew I could see him getting weaker and weaker every day. And then, just a few months later, he was gone. He passed away. I remember the day clearly. It was raining outside, and I was sitting in the living room holding his favorite book. I didn't know what to do. My whole world turned upside down in an instant. The man who had been my hero, my role model, was gone. My mom was devastated too, but I didn't know how to comfort her. We just weren't close like that. For the next year, everything felt empty. My mom was heartbroken, and I was just trying to survive. We both missed him so much, but then something happened that would change everything. A year after my dad passed away, my mom started dating someone new. His name was Mark, and he was a school teacher. I remember the first time I met him. He was friendly, polite, and he tried to make small talk with me. Honestly, I didn't care much. I was still grieving, still angry that my dad was gone. But my mom seemed happy, and for the first time in a while, I could see a spark in her eyes again. She introduced him as her boyfriend, and soon enough, they started spending more time together. He'd come over to the house a lot. He would buy me small things like candy or video games, trying to win me over. And at first, I thought, okay, maybe he's not so bad. But deep down, I hated the idea of her moving on. I hated the idea of anyone replacing my dad. I wasn't ready for that. But my mom was, and she started talking about how Mark was special, how he was the one who could make her happy again. Eventually, they got married. I remember the day like it was yesterday. It was a small ceremony in our backyard. My mom looked beautiful in her wedding dress, and Mark looked nervous but happy. I stood there, barely smiling, not knowing how to feel. It wasn't a day of celebration for me. It felt like the final nail in the coffin of my old life. My dad was gone, and now my mom was moving on. After the wedding, things were different. Mark seemed kind at first. He didn't yell, didn't get angry, at least not around my mom. But slowly, I started to see a different side of him. When my mom wasn't around, he would treat me like I was nothing. He'd yell at me for the smallest things. He'd get upset if I didn't clean the house perfectly or if I didn't do the chores exactly how he wanted. And the worst part was, my mom didn't see it. She didn't believe me when I told her what Mark was doing. She just told me, it's tough love. He's just trying to help you be a man. But I wasn't being treated like a man. I was being treated like a servant. He forced me to do all the house chores. I would have to clean the bathroom, do the laundry, mop the floors, scrub the windows, wash the dishes. The list went on and on. And if I ever refused or made a mistake, he would hit me. He started with small slaps, but it got worse. He'd hit me with his belt, his hands, and sometimes even with a wooden cane. And the worst part, he would do all of this in front of my mom. She was there, watching it happen, and she didn't stop him. She didn't even blink an eye. She would just tell me to go to my room and calm down when I would cry. But I couldn't calm down. I was being hurt, and my own mom wasn't doing anything to stop it. It was like she didn't care, or maybe she just didn't want to believe what was happening. But it hurt deeply to know that the one person I thought would protect me was choosing to ignore the abuse. I would complain to her, but she'd just brush it off. "This is tough love," she'd say. "You'll learn to appreciate it one day." But the more he hit me, the more I felt worthless. He'd ridicule me constantly, calling me fat, stupid, and ugly. Every day was the same. I felt like I was nothing, that no one cared. My friends started to notice the bruises on my arms, but I lied to them. I told them I was just clumsy, that I'd bumped into things. But they knew. My best friend Jake, especially, was always there for me. He tried to cheer me up at school, always making me laugh when I was feeling down. He was my escape, my safe space. But at home, I had no one. One of the worst things Mark did was ban me from seeing my friends. He didn't want me socializing with anyone. He even took away all my electronics. No phone, no computer, no TV. I was isolated. My life became a prison. And the worst part, my mom didn't stop him. She let him do it all. And when I tried to stand up for myself, Mark would hit me. He would laugh as I cried, telling me that this was my life now, that I was his slave. Things only got worse from there. He took the door off my bedroom, and when I protested, my mom agreed with him. That night, Mark hit me again. He pushed me down the stair, laughing as I lay there bruised. I couldn't take it anymore. I knew I had to get out, or I wouldn't survive. I decided to take matters into my own hands. One day, I called in sick to school, and I went home early. Jake had given me a camera, and together we came up with a plan to get proof of what Mark was doing. I set up the camera in my room, waited for the right moment, and when Mark came home, he didn't disappoint. He walked in, saw me, and his face lit up with that evil smile. He called me his punching bag and immediately grabbed a wooden stick. I was terrified, but I ran to my room, the one with no door, and stood in front of the camera. Mark came after me, swinging the stick at me, hitting me over and over. But then, suddenly, there was a knock on the door. The police burst in, guns drawn. They arrested Mark right then and there. I got to know that my best friend Jake had followed me home and was hiding nearby. When he saw Mark, he immediately called the police. Mark was in panic and tried to downplay the situation by telling that we were just playing, but I told the police everything that happened. Mark obviously denied everything and told the police that I am lying and a troublemaker. At that time, Mom also returned home from grocery shopping, and when she got to know about the situation, she started supporting Mark's claims. She also said that I was always a troublemaker and she wished that I wasn't born. This broke my heart, and I was thinking that what wrong did I do to deserve such hatred from my own mom. I then immediately showed the police the camera and told them that I have the proof. By seeing the hidden camera, Mark's face turned pale, and he rushed in to break it, but was quickly stopped by the officers. I showed the recording, and the police officers were shocked. They couldn't believe that how someone can be so cruel. Mark was arrested, and so was my mom. In court, they tried to twist the story, but I showed the video. The judge was shocked. Everyone in the courtroom was stunned. The judge sentenced Mark 30 years prison time, and my mom got 1 year of prison time. Mark and my mom tried to beg me to drop the case, but I refused. I was done. I wanted justice, and I wasn't backing down. Then stepfather gave me a last angry look, and he was taken away by the officers along with my mother. In the end, my best friend's parents adopted me. They gave me a home, love, and a family that cared about me. It wasn't easy, but I was finally free. My mom, after getting released, tried to contact me again and again, but I refused and threatened her to take legal action if she tries to contact me again. Now, I'm 30 years old, I'm married, have a good career, and I'm happy. My relationship with my adoptive parents is strong, and I'm closer than ever with Jake. He's more than just a friend now, he's my brother. And yes, I am also married to my beautiful wife, Tara, and we have a son. I still get flashbacks of those days, but I choose to stay strong and not let it affect me. This is the end of the story. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.